Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here this afternoon. Our special guest is attorney Charles Collins, also known as Chuck. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Sure. And he only has 30 minutes, so we kind of have to keep things moving along quickly. So, Chuck, would you like to tell us first about your personal background?
Sure, Judy. I think, as I mentioned the last time I was on your show, I guess it was about a year ago now, I'm a local attorney. I'm over in Jefferson County. It's a small rural county to the east of Tallahassee. I work with my father. We're a two-person firm, the Collins Law Firm over in Monticello, Florida. We practice primarily criminal defense, but do a lot of civil litigation, some family law matters as well, local government. And I've been practicing now for, I believe, about 17 years. Used to be a prosecutor in the Third and Ninth Circuit in Florida, and that's pretty much it.
Mhm. How long were you a prosecutor?
About 3 years.
And what kind of cases did you handle there?
Mostly misdemeanors. I did work my way up to the felony division, and I was there for about a year. My father wouldn't let me come practice with him right away. He said I had to go get experience, which was probably the best thing that I could have done. And enjoyed my time as a prosecutor, but got married young, wanted to raise a family, and it's really a shame how the legislature down here pays prosecutors, and you couldn't really afford to raise a family with the pay that you got as a prosecutor down here. So I ended up coming back home and going into private practice.
Mm-hmm. I see. And can you tell us how you became Luis Rivera's attorney?
Yes, ma'am. As I had mentioned last time on your show, each circuit in Florida has what's called a capital registry, attorneys that are qualified to handle cases in which the death penalty is being sought as a potential punishment. My father and I are both on the registry in the Second Circuit, in which Mr. Rivera's case was prosecuted. So it's just on rotation. It was just the sheer luck of the draw, if you want to call it that, that I got appointed.
Mm-hmm. Well, why is it that he didn't get a public defender?
He initially had the public defender's office, and the
Oh,
public defender's office filed a motion certifying that they had a conflict of interest in that they either represented a witness in the case previously or had some other affiliation with someone who was associated with the case where the rules of professional conduct would not allow them to represent Mr. Rivera.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got notice that you were assigned to be his attorney. Was your father also appointed?
What happens is they initially appoint one attorney. And then in Florida, when you're indigent defendant, you're entitled to have co-counsel, two attorneys in a capital case. So I filed a motion to have my father, David, appointed as my co-counsel in representing Mr. Rivera.
Mm-hmm. I see. But you were the only one with him in that big van ride, right?
I was the only one with them on the van ride. My senior partner elected not to make that road trip with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you tell us more about your impressions of Luis?
Yes, ma'am. His association with other organizations, I think, is pretty well documented. That I don't think I need to elaborate on any further. That speaks for itself. But as far as my impressions of him, he was someone who obviously came from a very troubled past, whether it be from his own doing or just being born into it. And someone who was sincere in what he did in terms of taking responsibility for his actions and wanting to try to help in the way that he could.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So getting into the questions here, since we are on a time limit, someone asked, when's the best time to offer a client a deal to get them to flip on a co-conspirator?
I don't know if there's any set in stone best time. It real, in my opinion, and I'm sure everyone has a different opinion, Depends on the circumstances and the lay of the land. Mr. Rivera's case was very unique in that you had other parties that were being prosecuted at that time, such as Mr. Garcia, and there were other potential suspects who had not been charged at that point in time. And we kind of took the surrounding circumstances that we had and shortened the time period in which other people could potentially cooperate. And it just kind of worked out. It was a very unique situation in terms of who was being prosecuted, who was suspects, who else could potentially cooperate. And it all depends really on a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm. So I know you still have to keep some things confidential, but
Yes, ma'am.
Is it typically the defense attorney who approaches the prosecution to make a deal, or is it typically the prosecution that says, hey, we'll give your guy a deal?
It can be either way. In this case, as I kind of alluded to without getting into any real privileged conversations, we knew that the government had a real interest in speaking with someone who could provide them, obviously, with more information on other people. So it just kind of came together very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did you communicate the possible deal to the prosecution? Was it like a phone call? Are you on casual good terms with them?
Yeah, I would like to think I'm on good terms with Ms. Kappelman and most people in that office. Obviously, we're all advocates for certain causes and disagree on some things, but I think I have a very good professional relationship with Ms. Kappelman. The actual, when you say deal, if you mean the actual end result, what he was sentenced to, that came over a series of conversations. What he was eventually sentenced to was not what the government had offered initially.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you say if it was more favorable for your client or worse?
What he ultimately was sentenced to was the best offer we received from the government.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I think most people would say you got him like the deal of a lifetime.
Well, it was a unique case, Judy. It really was. Sometimes I think we're all guilty of Monday morning quarterbacking, so to speak. And there is a part of me that wonders if we had drug on a little longer or waited a little longer, if it could have even been better. I don't know. I feel satisfied in knowing that he did get a good result, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just even as a layperson, personally, I would say 7 years for allegedly getting the gun and driving back and forth to kill somebody. That seems like a pretty good deal to me. So good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. Other questions was, okay, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but can you guess why Sigfredo Garcia wasn't called to testify at Charlie's trial?
I really don't know the answer to that. It would merely be speculation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's probably things that he could have offered, obviously, that Mr. Rivera couldn't have offered in testimony based on who he was in a relationship with and maybe what he was more privy to. But I truly don't know the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it seems like both of them were heavy drug users. So my guess is that Sigfredo probably has a terrible memory if he even remembers what happened. So
that's probably a very well-founded answer.
Yeah. Let's see. What about Charlie's trial? You mentioned that you did watch some of it.
I did. I had a little downtime a few days when I was in the office, and I was able to listen to it. Pretty amazing trial, the little bit I did listen to.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of his defense theory that Charlie was being extorted by Katie?
It was not something that I would have contemplated as a potential defense. I don't think anyone really saw that coming. Sometimes these crazy out of left field theories, sometimes they work. So I don't know. That family, I don't know the dynamics of it, obviously, but given what I do know, it seemed evidence-wise, evidence that was in the record that was there, it would have seemed more likely, obviously, that he could have shifted some of the guilt, so to speak, to his sister or other members of the family. Maybe he didn't want to do that, obviously, because they were family members. I don't know. I found it very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a experienced criminal defense attorney. I'm not going to say his name, but he watches my channel. And he was kind of getting annoyed that people were bashing Daniel Frashbaum. He thought that that theory was pretty good to come up with to explain the evidence. So, I
Sure.
mean, you do defense now too, right? So,
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
how would you rate Frashbaum?
I'm not even, I don't know what, I'm sure he had a lot of conversations with his client about how he was going to present his client's case. And I'm sure there were very well-founded reasons for why he presented the case that he did. And the little bit I saw or heard from that attorney, I thought that he did do a very good job. But I'm not privy to what he was privy to. So I'm sure there were very good reasons for the argument that he laid out and the case he presented. And, we do what we can for the people we represent. So I'm not, without knowing what he knows, I think it would not be fair to rate anything, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, as Donna had said previously, he had a job to get done and he did what he needed to do to accomplish it. So that's one of Donna's quotes from her wacky emails to Wendy. Okay, so 5 Car 5 had a question. What do you think about Wendy Adelson driving down Trescott to the crime scene?
Well, I think that's pretty much, excuse me, at this point, it seems like an uncontroverted fact, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't listened to all the trials, but it seems like that has come out in the past few trials.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the police officer said, but at this trial, she denied it. She claimed that she did a K turn, like didn't even drive down the street.
But, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't paid attention to these cases in the manner in which you have, and to the degree. It does seem, though, that it's uncontroverted that she did go to Trescott after the shooting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And what exactly was her explanation for going down there, even if she did do a K turn?
Now, this is where, she's told so many different stories, I can't even keep it all straight. But I think she did say she was just sometimes driving on Trescott for sentimental reasons after the divorce, to come to terms with the divorce. And then another reason was that supposedly she had to go to this ABC liquor store that was sort of southwest of Dan's house to buy Bullet bourbon. So those were her excuses, which didn't seem to make much sense to me, because if she was in this big rush to meet her friends for lunch, that was totally out of her way.
Right. Well, my familiarity with Tallahassee and that Benton Hills area and Thomasville Road is that the ABC liquor store would be on Thomasville Road going south on the south side.
Mm-hmm.
Trescott's not really, I don't see how Trescott would be on the way to ABC. It would definitely be out of the way. In other words, you would have to turn off Thomasville Road, come down Trescott away from the ABC. So I don't know. That's very odd.
Yeah, I mean, definitely very odd. When I heard about that, that just made me very suspicious of her, to be driving so far south, then west, then, going around to the ABC liquor store, especially since there were at least two or three other places right where she was supposed to have lunch, where she could have bought the liquor. And how
Sure.
strange that she was asked to buy Bullet bourbon, pronounced Bullet. So,
Yeah, very odd and coincidental all at the same time.
yeah. But if you were the defense attorney, you would certainly argue, hey, it's just a coincidence, right? Like she was familiar with that place.
Maybe she got lost. I had to make a quick turn. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. What was your reaction to Charlie's conviction and then Donna's arrest?
Uh, Charlie's conviction. I wasn't that surprised with it. I know it's a circumstantial evidence case, but circumstantial evidence can be so damning sometimes, especially when you have so much of it. I wasn't surprised that he was convicted. I don't think that most people were. I don't know. As far as the mother's arrest, the timing of it, I think, was somewhat of a surprise. Uh, but other than the timing of it, in terms of when it happened, I wasn't that surprised. I think I alluded to on the last time I spoke with you over a year ago. I believed, and I'm not a prosecutor anymore. I thought that there was ample evidence to indict these people a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you think it was due to political pressure that Donna hadn't been arrested sooner?
I don't know. I don't know if it was political pressure, a fear that this last time when she was about to flee, if they would ever be able to get her again. I don't know what goes through our elected state attorney's mind and the timing of things and the way he does things. I would have to believe that they were acting on good information, and they believed that if they didn't move when they did, there would be a good chance of maybe it not happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And same question or another question from Dora. When does or could Lewis get released from prison with good behavior?
Well, he's currently, I believe, still serving a federal sentence in the
Yes.
Bureau of Prisons. And obviously, that federal sentence will end, and he will still have to serve time in the state, Florida Department of Corrections. Each entity, the federal system and the state system, have different guidelines in terms of potential early release. In Florida, it's pretty much you have to serve a minimum of 85% of your sentence. That's with good behavior. If you have behaved, you could get released with only serving 85% of your sentence. That would apply to him because he was not sentenced to any crimes that carried what we call a minimum mandatory. A minimum mandatory sentence, like if you were sentenced to 10 or 20 years and a minimum mandatory, that would mean that you would have to serve your sentence day for day. You wouldn't be able to get early released. And that's why the number of 19 was so very, very important in his final sentence, because he did not have any minimum mandatories that applied.
Mm-hmm. So that means he could potentially get out a little bit early if he
Yes,
has
ma'am.
good behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah.
Whatever 85% of 19 would be, I haven't done the math, but that with the federal sentence counting towards the time, that would be what he could get out at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did see this little short note that you had sent to Lewis a couple of years ago, just telling him that you'd be glad to represent him if you were appointed, but then the judge went ahead and denied his motion to get an attorney.
Yes, well, that's public record. That's all part of the
Yes.
record. So speaking on that, I'm not divulging anything. I was contacted by Mr. Rivera about potentially representing him in a capacity in which he was a witness. I believe this has been many years back,
Mhm.
and I had never been appointed in such a situation, but I didn't know of anything ethically or any other way that would prevent me from representing him. I believe that's what you're probably alluding to, is that
Yes.
correspondence.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but what about Lewis's request to spend all of his prison time in the federal prison system? Is that even possible?
I'm not aware of how it would be possible. I do know that generally defendants such as him who were part of other gangs, other criminal enterprises, they do tend to feel much more secure in a federal prison. Uh, I don't know why, but they do, and I do think that he has a genuine fear that if he is put in the state system, people will potentially have more access to him and could harm him.
Do you think he's in physical danger?
I don't know. The best informed answer I can give you is that there is a lot of gang violence in the state prisons here. I have represented members of other organizations who have been charged with murder while they have been serving sentences, and there is a real danger, I believe.
Okay. Let's see. I know we're running out of time. Okay, just going through some of these questions again. Should we assume it will be another 9 years before they arrest Wendy?
I don't know, Judy.
Yeah.
You know the evidence in this case probably good as anyone, probably just as good as Miss Kappelman. There's definitely circumstantial evidence out there. Is it enough circumstantial evidence in which the government believes they could seek an indictment, in which they are confident they could get a conviction later? Because that's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Her mere presence on Trescott, like we just talked about, is that enough?
Well, there's plenty more, but but you're right. I mean, I think Jeremy Mudd said something like the prosecutors don't like to take cases to trial unless they think there's a maybe 80 to 90% chance of getting a conviction.
Well, when I was a prosecutor, the standard always was you don't bring criminal charges against someone unless you believe very confidently that there is a likelihood of a conviction. You shouldn't be in the business of bringing cases that you don't believe in and don't believe that the person should be convicted. So that would be my best answer to that.
Okay. And question from Alicia. Did Lewis have any contact with Wendy? Receive any info that was linked to her, or hear her name in any conversation, see her, or meet her?
I believe Mr. Rivera's knowledge of people in that family and those events, I believe, based on the record evidence that I've reviewed, was all pretty much secondhand from Mr. Garcia and Miss Magbanua. I don't believe there's any record evidence to suggest that he had any direct contact with any member of the Adelson family.
Yeah, that's my belief too. Yeah, which is too bad because Sigfredo is probably the one that has the info. If he was the one that supposedly said, "Hey, there's Wendy, there's the lady we're doing this job for."
Yes, I would agree.
But why isn't he talking? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Is there some sort of witness protection program that Lewis could go into after he gets out because he snitched?
I'm not aware of any state funded here in Florida witness protection program that he would qualify for, or they would offer services to him. I believe that he's going to be on his own.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the witness protection program is only for federal cases?
I'm only aware of such a program in the federal system. I am not aware of any state agency here that would be obligated or be willing to provide services to Mr. Rivera.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. And this was my question. Could your father potentially represent Donna? I guess not, because you said your dad was involved with representing Lewis, right?
Yes, I don't see how we could get away from the conflict there. I don't see how Mr. Rivera would not be called as a witness in any subsequent prosecutions, and we obviously couldn't be put in a situation in which we would have to cross-examine an ex-client of our office. So I'm pretty confident in saying that there would be a conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Well, do you think that it would be better for the Adelsons to hire someone who's more local, closer to Tallahassee, as opposed to these white collar specialists from Southern Florida?
That's a good question. Many talented attorneys all over. There's many very good public defenders as well. I don't know if who her attorney is going to make a difference based on what you've told me of the evidence and what my recollection of it is. Once again, it's somewhat of a circumstantial case, but such damning circumstantial evidence. I don't know if the attorney is going to make that big of a difference. I don't. I think the best thing that could happen is that she has an attorney that she can have a good rapport with, that could potentially explore options instead of just being on a collision course for a trial, because there's obviously other things out there at play that I think the government would like to know, but it would probably depend on Miss Adelson's willingness, to share things. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Okay, just a quick question that someone put out here in the chat, and then I'll let you go. Why didn't Kappelman ask Lewis how Sigfredo knew it was windy?
I do not have an answer for that. That is a very, very good question.
Probably because Lewis, she didn't know exactly how Lewis would answer that, right?
That's a very good answer as well.
Yeah. Do you recall Lewis being shown a picture of Wendy during some of the proffer meetings?
I don't remember Mr. Rivera being shown a picture. Now, this was, how many years ago was it now? 4 or 5?
2016. Yeah.
7
September.
years ago. Wow. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If there's a video of it, that would probably obviously be the best evidence of anything that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although the video wasn't of every single thing he said, because later he did give a deposition, and, the whole van trip, it wasn't like something that was transcribed as far as I know. But I do recall DeCoste asking Lewis something very quickly about identifying Wendy in a picture during Katie's trial, but I can't remember exactly what Lewis said. So for us big crime buffs, I guess that's something for us to do in our spare time, is to go back and watch that moment from 2022. Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have to get going?
I can give you a couple more minutes, then I'm being told I need to go, but I have a couple more minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So Southern Law, he's an attorney here in North Carolina. He wants to know who chose the Prius.
It would have to be either Mr. Garcia or Mr. Rivera.
Or Katie, right?
Or
Wasn't Katie
yeah,
there?
or Katie, one of those three folks.
Hmm. Yeah. And based on what I've read, it didn't sound like Lewis said anything about being specifically told to get a silverish car.
I don't recollect him being told anything in terms of getting a specific car. Uh,
Hmm.
the thing I remember the most about the car was them driving in Tallahassee, and I believe it was Mr. Garcia shooting a hole through
Hmm.
the floorboard and the car running out of gas in the middle of downtown. Them
Hmm.
having to push it to like a discount auto parts and repair it in the parking lot. I just was amazed by that.
Yeah. Plus the fact that their drug dealer, Shadrick, helped them too.
Yeah,
He helped push the
I
car or
mean,
drive them over or
just
something.
thinking of that and visualizing that, and I'm not making light of the terrible tragedy that this was, but you can't help but think, what a bunch of idiots.
Hmm. Yeah. And because they were so stupid about it, then ultimately they did get caught. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing for society in general that they were so stupid. So, which reminds me, did you work with Monica Jordan to, you
I
know,
did.
build this case?
I did. Monica Jordan's a local investigator, very, very good, hardworking person that I work with on a lot of my capital cases. I'm working with her right now on quite a few as well.
Hmm. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, hopefully she'll agree to come on the show in the future. Last question. Would Charlie benefit from testifying against Wendy?
I think he could. Uh, I definitely think he could. I
Mhm.
don't know if he'd be willing to. Uh, I, I think I alluded to the last time I was here. There is a basis in the law in which someone's sentence can be reduced later. So there is definitely a mechanism in place that could provide a benefit, but I, I I don't believe that he will. I mean, we'll see.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I think I'll go ahead and let you go. I actually do have some little emergency within the household to deal with. But you guys out there, I will come back in like 2 minutes. So if people want to keep discussing things, I'd be glad to come back in a couple of minutes. So, but thank you so much, Chuck. I know this was just a blip on your radar with so many
Thank you,
cases.
Judy, and
Yeah.
everyone have a happy holiday season. Y'all take
Yeah,
care.
you too. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Yeah. So originally we were supposed to take an hour, but something came up, I guess, with his family or something. So sorry about that, but it was a nice privilege to have a little bit of his time today. And I do have something going on over here, so I'm just gonna take off for like a minute and then I will be back. But you guys feel free to keep discussing stuff in the chat. Okay, guys, this is why I'm not on court TV. So here I am. I'm glad you guys are still staying on because I'd be glad to answer all these questions because I get the feeling that Chuck is very, very busy with his real clients and his law practice. So he hasn't been following the case as closely as us Markel case, crime case addicts have for the last 6 years, I guess. So let me start from the beginning and see if I can provide some decent answers. Okay. Whoa, there's so many people commenting here. I'm still scrolling up. Okay. Yeah. Somebody got on my case. Actually, a few people said I looked disrespectful to the guests because I wasn't looking straight at the camera the whole time, but it's because this is a one person show. So at the same time, I have to keep looking to my right to look at all the comments scrolling. Okay, so let's see. Okay, thanks, Debbie. Just watched Rivera and his interview in first trial. Why didn't Georgia? Yeah, because normally the attorney is not going to ask a question that they don't know the answer to. Yeah, so it could have looked kind of bad if Rivera is like, well, I was just guessing. I don't know, but yeah, so we don't know exactly how Rivera was sure that Sigfredo said it, but, I mean, I thought it was a good moment in Katie's trial last year when Rivera said something pretty pointedly. He said, "Oh, I knew it was Katie. I know Katie's voice. Yeah, it was Katie who definitely did it because she's just as guilty as the rest of us." So you never know. Sometimes the witnesses will just give these unprovoked statements that are good for the case, but at the same time, they could also say something that kind of ruins their credibility too. So that's my guess. Yeah. Let's see. Hi, Judy. Lewis is talking about stapled cash and mumbles something toward Charlie's side. Okay. Yeah, I don't recall that moment. Other gang members. Sounds like it. Yeah, I think he probably has. Yeah, because he did say something about representing prisoners who were then accused of murdering or assaulting people while in prison. So, yeah, how many clients? Yeah, I think most of them do get some sort of plea deal. Yeah, that's just my guess. So, yeah, because the state doesn't have unlimited resources, so it usually is better for the administration of justice if these criminal defendants, especially where there's tons of evidence against them, if they'll just cut a deal. Okay. Yeah, he probably would advise him to cut a deal. I mean, he was able to convince Lewis pretty well. Yeah. But at this late stage in the game, I don't know what kind of deal the state would give Charlie because he's already been convicted. And it seems like even without his help, they have lots of evidence against Donna. Okay, so Helen, I think he said he's been out of law school for 17 years. Okay. Hey, Don. Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's pretty great when you can work with your dad. His dad is very experienced. So they're still in practice together. Okay, still scrolling down here looking for questions. Okay, here's his website if you guys wanted to see it, collins-lawfirm.com. Okay, still scrolling. People are all saying hi. Thank you for watching my skating stuff. It was kind of fun and wacky. Yeah, trying to put together a Donna Adelson skating video. But there were way too many people there yesterday in the freestyle session. Yeah. Oh, okay. Helen asks, where's a good channel to get all the video trials for this case? Like to watch them all. I would probably say Deep Dive True Crime. Mentor Lawyer, he and I have done lots of collaborations together. So he's been working so hard for many, many years. He was probably the first YouTuber who focused on this case. So Deep Dive True Crime. Yeah. Okay. So if you saw the picture I posted yesterday, yes, I sort of got a mock pickle suit. Now I don't know what to do with that stupid thing. It's very unflattering and makes me look fat. So I don't really want to wear that green puffy vest again. But I did wear it at the skating rink yesterday. But yeah, it's a pretty unflattering, not very comfortable thing. Yeah. Let's see. Lewis mentioned his money was stapled. Yes, yeah, he definitely mentioned the staples back in that old videoed proffer interview where he's wearing this reddish or orangish red looking prison outfit. Okay, his father was in the deposition. Yeah, I thought it was funny. A while back, somebody said, "Hey, Chuck looks like he's lost a lot of weight." I was like, "What are you talking about? He's always been thin." So I think the person was referring to his father, the other Mr. Collins, that might have been seen somewhere. Okay. Oh, yes. Hi, Carrie. Yeah, she remembers conflicts with the lawyers because people knew Dan or worked with him. Yeah, that's why the public defender's office rejected Katie and didn't want to, or said they couldn't work on her appeal because there were attorneys there who were friends with Dan, knew him from somewhere. Does he think Lewis is telling the truth that he saw Wendy? How did Sigfrido? Yeah. So once again, I think Chuck would have said yes. I mean, he's not going to come out in public and say, "Yeah, I knew my client was lying." So yeah, because there's still attorney-client confidentiality there. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, based on what he said years after the fact, back in fall 2016, yeah, Lewis did say that he thought it was going to be a robbery at first. And when he found out they were actually going to kill someone over custody of two kids, he thought that was kind of stupid. And he said, "Hey, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to, we're going to kill this guy over some effing kids. Why don't we just go rob her instead?" But unfortunately, he didn't really try hard to dissuade Sigfredo from that, and he still went along with the plan. So, yeah, I mean, at least he seems the most remorseful and one of the most genuine witnesses. Did you ever see Lewis get angry? No, I don't think Chuck. I mean, based on what he told me, he did not see Lewis get angry because usually these clients are pretty, normal or deferential to their attorneys. Once in a while, you do hear of people assaulting their attorneys or whatever, but from what I recall, Chuck thought Lewis was, I don't know if you want to say nice, but he was well mannered and, he didn't come across as some sort of overtly mean, violent type of person to him. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he seemed remorseful and he even, shed a tear and, wiped his tear away. That's one of the thumbnails for his testimony from last year. Yeah, Katie saw dollar signs. Yeah, although I would say it started with the Adelsons with Wendy and Donna and Charlie and probably Harvey. Yeah. And Charlie happened to find somebody who was desperate for money. That's basically what he constantly did, was just take advantage of poor people and use their weaknesses to get what he wanted. Okay, Lewis was the only good person. Yeah. So, okay, the answer is no, because yesterday, I know I sounded like crap as usual, but I went ahead yesterday morning, read some more of those court filings from Lewis's case, and Judge, is it Kevin Connors, quickly denied his motion to reduce his sentence because that was his deal. He already got his deal. He didn't appeal it within 60 days. So he can't just keep going back and saying, "Well, I want fewer years now. I'm still helping you." Well, that was originally part of the deal. So I think getting 7 years is really a good deal for taking part in a murder. So Yeah, Lewis has lots of potential. Yeah, I was surprised to see in his jail or his prison record that he's only 40 years old. So I'm of that age where 40 seems pretty young to me. So, you know, you always hope that people will turn a new leaf, especially if he has children, to try to, be a better role model for. Okay. Yes, he was court appointed. Were you surprised that Lewis flipped on his best friend? Yeah, well, Sigfredo, from what I've read, was not part of the Latin gang or Latin King gang, but I think all the other YouTube lawyers who do lots of criminal defense have said it's totally not surprising when people do flip on their so-called best friends, their relatives, their parents. So that happens all the time when people are facing serious charges and possible life in prison or even the death penalty. So, yeah. And yeah, I remember when I met Monica Jordan down in Tallahassee briefly. Um, she said people are wondering if Lewis is sick or something's wrong with him, but no, he just looks better because he's been exercising more, so he lost weight. Yeah, so it's nothing to be alarmed in, in a negative light, but yeah, he's definitely lost weight, and it's because he's become healthier. Um, According to Monica. Let's see. Yes, he's definitely healthy, I guess. I mean, from what little I know. Yeah. Um, let's see. Oh, thank you, Dawn. Yeah, she's telling people there's an interview from last January also on this channel. Okay, so Lewis, as far as I recall, he has 5 children total, but I think 3 are his stepchildren from his first marriage. So maybe he has 2 biological kids and 3 stepchildren from his first marriage. So the youngest one is the little girl he talked about during his proffer interview, and that's the child he had with Jessica. Okay, yeah, he definitely expressed remorse during his proffers and also when he was in court. Yeah, I don't think he really talked about the impact on Dan's children and family, but he just said something like he felt bad and that, that he killed this person. Okay, does he think Lewis left out any info? Yeah, probably not. I don't think Chuck would say that because number one, he was his attorney, so he's not supposed to say negative things about his client that might be troublesome. But when somebody's making a proffer, part of the deal is that he has to be 100% transparent and 100% cooperative to get the deal. So I don't think he left out any info. He just really didn't have dirt on the Adelsons or any sort of direct interactions with them. Okay, yeah, so Don mentions he's been taking GED classes, maybe he can read better. Yeah. Yeah, I think he answered that. Yeah, that Rivera didn't seem to have had interactions with them. Yeah, because remember, he was just kind of like thrown into this sort of at the last minute when Sigfredo asked him to just tag along, help him out a little. So, um, yes, that's right. His baby was only 2 weeks old when he killed Dan. Yeah. Okay. That's where I thought Ratchbaum went wrong. He tried to prove the whole family innocent, should have concentrated on his client. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I haven't thought this through 100%, but I always thought that it would have been a lot more credible if Charlie's attorneys had thrown mud at Wendy and had their theory be that Wendy planned this directly, and Charlie didn't have any direct involvement with the stuff, with the planning of the murder, because Lewis didn't actually have any interaction with him. Yeah, but I guess the defense had to come up with something, huh? So I guess that was kind of creative, even though it sounded really stupid. But also keep in mind that the alternate juror was that man, the weird guy who seemed like he was going to totally believe it. And he probably would have voted to have Charlie found not guilty. So I also recall hearing a rumor that it wasn't just that one weird guy, but one other alternate juror probably would have acquitted Charlie. Let's see. Okay, still scrolling through here. Yeah, definitely. If you guys haven't seen it, please take a look at the Society page, which is a really great new YouTube channel. And that person created this wonderfully edited video showing the drive that Wendy took, along with graphics and interspersing her different stories from different trials about that drive she took to Trescott. So that's the Society page, YouTube channel. Okay, thank you, Southern Law. You guys be sure to support his channel also. He has really great weekly recaps of the criminal cases that are in the news. So really enjoy his presentations. And it just so happens that we're in the same county, although we didn't know each other before YouTube. Let's see. Okay, still scrolling. Yeah, have they? Yeah, people keep asking that, and I have no idea. But somebody said that the person who threw the stunt to bar party is still a friend and supporter of Wendy's. But I mean, personally, I thought the so-called invitation that Rashbaum pulled out and showed to Wendy, that could have just been totally false, made up piece of paper. You know, anybody can just type up something and print it out on a printer and be like, see, look, here's my invitation from a party back in July 2014. And the person told me to buy Bullet bourbon. I mean, what a coincidence that happened the date that Dan got shot with bullets. Yeah. Okay, so what about Harvey? Yeah, so I did do that short video with the artificial narrator voice that people were complaining about also, where about a month or so ago, I had posited that Harvey probably is not going to be arrested, but now that Donna has tried to flee to Vietnam and Harvey was with her, and the authorities have seized Harvey's cell phone and iPad, then that kind of gives me hope that maybe there is going to be more evidence against Harvey, so he could get arrested for something. And I was also happy to hear from Mentor Lawyer that even though Harvey normally would be protected from being accused of being an accessory, because he is Donna's spouse and Charlie's father, that family relationship, what do they call it, like an exception, doesn't exist where murder or first degree murder is concerned. So just a paraphrasing of the law. This is not legal advice. So yeah, hey Gloria. Yes, definitely. Charlie, Wendy, they're just big talkers. So they think they can convince people of everything. Okay, do you think Katie was protecting Wendy? I don't think so, because what allegiance would Katie have to protect Wendy? So, I mean, they weren't close friends, whereas she was in a prior dating relationship with Charlie, and she was getting all this money and favors from Charlie as well as from Donna. So I just think, from what little I've seen of those proffers, and it's not even 100% of the proffers, but I think Katie, number one, she's kind of dumb. Number two, she was probably doing lots of drugs and drinking and, taking drugs and stuff. So maybe she really can't remember that well. And she's just kind of a trashy, stupid person. So unfortunately, we're stuck with her and her crappy memory. And maybe it is true that Charlie deliberately walled her off so that she didn't know. For example, maybe she didn't really know it was supposed to be a murder. And maybe she didn't really know that it was supposed to be Wendy's ex-husband that was going to be killed, because that is kind of a sneaky thing where Charlie put the details on paper and then stuck all that stuff into the sealed envelope, which he very carefully handled so it wouldn't have his fingerprints on it, and then told Katie to just give that envelope to Sigfredo. So maybe Katie really didn't know all those details herself. So, let's see. Was Charlie handcuffs? Yes, yeah, that's what everybody said. He was handcuffed. They took off his tie, and he looked like he was getting ready to cry. Yeah, Joya. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I don't. I think that's like BS that she claims she was told to buy bullet bourbon. Yeah, how convenient. When Donna told Wendy to turn on her acting abilities, what'd she mean? Yeah, so this is where I kind of feel like one of these days, if I have time, it would be nice to make a video about common misperceptions in the Dan Markel case, because the stuff about, you can be a great actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Well, that email was sent back in 2013, and it had nothing to do with Dan's murder, but rather it had to do with an upcoming court hearing, which I think that was the relocation hearing, something to do with the relocation/divorce case. So that was the context in which Donna was telling Wendy to, put on this big performance of her life. But I'm sure, even for July 18th, 2014, Donna was likely expecting Wendy to also put on a big performance of her life too. Yeah, but the email actually referred to the family court proceedings. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Lewis has about 16 years served. Let's see. So he was already in prison starting, I think, in 2015 for drug charges. So it was 15 plus 19, 2034. Yeah, but it already looks like he's getting out sort of early from federal prison, because he gets out of federal prison May 2026. Yeah, but also in one of the filings that I read yesterday, Lewis did say something about one minor infraction that he had in prison, but otherwise he's been a model prisoner. So I do wonder what was his one infraction. Could it have been he didn't make his bed, or did he get in a fight? What happened there? So, but sounds like he's been doing pretty well. Yeah, sure seems like it, especially after this latest trial. Oh, okay. Well, I've still never tried bullet bourbon. I don't think I'll go out and buy it. buy a bottle of that. Don't let Wendy sully the good name of Bullet Bourbon. Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny if one of the YouTube channels got sponsored by Bullet Bourbon? Because we sure do talk about it a lot. I actually Googled to see if there were any good recipes to make with it, like fruitcake or something, but I don't think I found anything good to make from it. Okay, so Chuck is someone who was also on a previous live stream show, and he worked for, was it Tallahassee, the Florida Bureau of Investigations? Yeah, he was an investigator. So he says, I've seen the inside of federal and state prisons. Federal is much better from every standpoint. Yeah, that's good to hear. Put an ankle bracelet to track him after his federal sentence. But then that means ultimately he was only in prison for 10 years, 10 and a half years. Yeah. I mean, I still think, he got a great deal. So, it's pretty good considering what he did resulted in the death of Dan Markel. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, definitely Maui Swift. Yeah. And that's what Carl Steinbeck and some of the other commenters keep hammering on, is that you don't always need direct evidence to convict somebody. Yeah. Okay, so now people are talking about Bullet Bourbon. Bullet Bourbon is popular. I believe Wendy definitely knew about this. That's probably only real coincidence. Yes, thank you, YT3. Yep, exactly. Hey, society page. Okay, yeah, so this is great. The society page is here. Like I said before, be sure to check out, I think it's a man. Okay, be sure to check out his channel and that amazing new video with the drive to Trescott, as well as all the little snippets of Wendy's different stories. There's also another video that I really liked where this person was thanking Jeff Lacasse. Okay. Was that the go-to store? Yeah, and this is what Fancy has mentioned also, that, I guess Wendy could claim that that was the store she knew about because she had previously lived close to that location, and maybe she was like one of those like frequent shopper club members if they had such a thing. So maybe there was a reason for her to drive all the way south and west, all the way around town to go to that specific ABC liquor store. I have no idea, but they do have her financial records. And when they took her car that day, from what I recall, they did find the bottle of Bullet Bourbon plus the receipt indicating, what time she bought it, which was 12:49 p.m. And I think the receipt said she bought Bullet Rye whiskey. So that's why Fancy was constantly repeating, look, she bought Bullet Rye whiskey. Why is everybody saying it was Bullet Bourbon? So, I mean, I don't know my liquors. So, so the receipt said it was Bullet Rye whiskey, but Wendy said it was Bullet Bourbon. Yeah, okay, you can still see goodness in Lewis. Oh, okay, chances for appeal. Yeah, it's over in regard to his appeal because I read the brief as well as the court of appeal order denying his appeal. I think that was in a live stream show last fall. So he has no more appeals left, but he did more recently file a motion for post-conviction relief, which sounded like a bunch of crud to me. And last I saw in his file, the state was saying they wanted to let him have a hearing where he can argue his motion. So that should be pretty funny if it takes place. So it's been a few months since I checked on Sigfredo's court file. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, if there's actually a date scheduled for his motion for post-conviction relief, but those are very, very rarely granted, just based on what I've heard. Yeah. Plus his motion sounded like a bunch of garbage. So yeah, I read some of it on a live stream show, but it was kind of boring, and I didn't want to totally wear out my voice reading that stuff. Yeah. Oh, okay, so Southern Law is saying Donna can sell her ticket to Nam Chief. Okay. Yeah, Vietnam is better off without Donna and Harvey there. Okay. Yeah. Are you referring to the bullet? What do you call it? The Start the Bar Party invitation. Yeah, it wasn't, as far as I know, it was not admitted into evidence. It was just something that Rashbaum showed to Wendy. Okay. Okay, so that's a detail I don't remember. So Wendy told the mom to tell Charlie to stay in Miami. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's right. That's what I mentioned earlier. Charlie's attorney was trying to pull a Jose Baez trial. Yeah, that was just like totally bizarre and mind-boggling. Okay, yeah, so I think Chuck answered that question, that there is a gang problem within the state prisons. Okay, yeah, that's right, Debbie. Yeah, because you have to maintain your, what do you call it, professional integrity, and we're asking him to talk about people that he has to deal with in his real job, and everybody's doing their job, right? So you don't want to just come out and trash talk the system or say anything negative about people in the judicial system. Yeah, it was a loser case. Lost a ton of money. Yeah, that was funny. The Latin King and Groupon blackmail special didn't work for Charlie. But yeah, this is why you guys got to subscribe to Steve's channel, Southern Law, because he makes a lot of really funny comments. So yeah, he will be educated as well as entertained by his channel. Let's see. In Charlie's trial, he said they were not involved. He pled guilty in a RICO case as a minor player. Yeah, you would think so, but in his court filings, Lewis sounded like he was very scared for his safety. Okay. How did Lewis get a driver's license if he's illiterate? How did he read? Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling he could read and write at a very basic level, maybe like a elementary school level, but I think he dropped out of like 6th or 7th grade. Okay, so that's what I recall. So he's not totally 100% illiterate. And I mean, it's been ages since I took the driver's license exam, but I don't think there was tons of reading for that. Yeah, so he's not 100% illiterate. And in fact, he was actually either a foreman or a manager at that coastal masonry company. So he can't be a total doofus. He had to have some smarts about him to have had that kind of, what do you call it, managerial position with that company. Okay, he knew what he was getting into. Yeah, that's what he said a couple of years ago in his court filings, where he was trying to get a reduced sentence. He was saying he was working toward his GED and almost done. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I had guessed also. Yeah, not to mention they also had to pay Kate Myers and the jury consultant and those two extra people who came down from New York. There were a lot of expenses in defending Charlie. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but yeah, it's really nice of Chuck to take some time out of his Sunday to talk with us. Yeah, because most people are not as obsessed with this case like we are. So most people are like, "Huh, what?" I just had lunch with some friends, including my friend Hector, who played the role of the undercover FBI agent in that video spoof of the bump. And so, I tell them a little bit about the case because they always ask me, "How's your YouTube channel going?" and stuff. But nobody really, really wants to get into all the details or ask follow up questions about the Markel case. So, yeah, this is just our kind of niche group of people here on YouTube. I want Lewis to improve his life. He was not ever privileged. Yeah. Yeah. He grew up to young parents, became a young parent too. Yeah. Can you imagine becoming a parent when you're 13? Wonder how that child is doing. Shadrick would have win. Wonder if they had first class tickets. Oh, of course. Yeah, the tickets to Vietnam were probably like quite small in comparison to all the legal bills. Would Wendy learn from her mama's mistake? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think she'll learn any sort of moral lessons, but maybe she won't be buying a one-way ticket to go to a country without extradition. Okay, I think I gotta scroll through some more since this has been more than an hour. Oh, okay, so I'm going through the messages when Chuck had to leave. Okay. I think Charlie paid out of his own pocket. He had resources to do so. Okay. Although if we're talking about the money, yeah, the day that Dan was shot, sounded like Donna and Harvey came by Charlie's house to bring the cash over. Do you think Wendy may have been unconsciously trying to stop the murder from happening when she? Nah, I don't think so. I think she just couldn't help herself because she was so full of emotion and stress that she had to mention something to Jeff about it. Yeah. Or maybe she was just planting seeds in his head. Let's see. Charlie didn't do this for Wendy. He did so Donna and Harvey would stop complaining. Yeah, I mean, definitely Donna was constantly griping and she was very angry. And actually, both of them had tons of hatred for Dan. And that's also what, let's see, Alex and Maya Greenberg, Dan's friends who were also previously friends with Wendy, they also said that to the police investigators and said that, they would look at the in-laws and maybe one of the crazy women that Dan had briefly dated. So, yeah, Charlie probably taught his mom so much, and all they did was rag on Dan, how miserable Wendy was because of how evil Dan was. So, oh, okay. So you're not going to make paella? Yeah. Let's see. No, there was not a dog. I don't have a dog. So, no, the dog did not pee on the carpet. Okay. Yeah, Chuck seems like a nice, affable attorney. Yeah, I mean, really nice of him to be willing to put himself out here on YouTube. He's busy. He has a family. This is a weekend. And it's just some random case where I looked him up and sent him a message last year or last January, I think. Didn't even think he would respond. So, yeah, because you guys have probably seen some of my old shows with other attorneys, and eventually somebody will ask them, "Do you know anything about the Dan Markel murder? Do you follow any true crime cases?" And pretty much all of them say, "No, I don't even have time. I don't even I don't have time to care about other cases. I have enough cases to work on for my real job. So yeah, it's really nice that Chuck was willing to be on here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Wendy's time is running out. She needs that smug, snarky smile. Yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun. Maybe the society page can do this because he seems to be able to whip out these really great professional looking videos a lot faster than I can. But I thought it would be funny to capture all these snippets of Wendy's funny faces during the trials, because there is like one moment in the trial where she like stuck out her lower lip, like this in this really unsavory way. And I was like, that would be great to like capture all these snippets of Wendy's face and set it to music. Like, just think of all the musical possibilities, like Poker Face, or what else would be like a fun song to set that to. Well, anyway, just an idea, but I can't edit videos as well. That would take forever to do. Yeah. Oh, you want me to recap the whole show? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have the voice and capability to recap the whole show now because we've been on for like an hour and 18 minutes now. Yeah. So basically he thought his client was a good, honest person who, got a good deal. And no, he doesn't think Lewis is going to be able to do any sort of witness protection program that's not offered by the state. He also said something about how prisoners could potentially get like a 15% reduction on their sentences based on good behavior. Okay, so I think those were some of the takeaways. House is on the market, girlfriend living and at least two of the cars are still. Yeah, so this is where there's some confusion because from what I recall, in Charlie's civil deposition, which was, I think, December of 2021, he made it sound like he had already sold his Whale Harbor house because by then he was already living on Tortugas Lane. But then I started hearing through YouTube and internet that looks like Charlie still has his Whale Harbor house, or it was probably just transferred into a trust like everything they have. And the rumor has it that the Filipino therapist who has been calling Charlie a ton while he's been in jail was the one who was living in the Whale Harbor house. I don't know if that's still the case because she also seems to have an office, like a satellite therapy office up in Virginia. So I don't know the whole background story, but sounds like she just goes back and forth between Virginia versus Miami. So yeah, well, who knows if she's still got a relationship with him. I mean, how do you have a relationship with somebody who's in jail and about to be sentenced to life in prison? Yeah. Okay. Where did a boy stay now? Okay, so if you're talking about Dan and Wendy's kids, as far as I know, they're still with Wendy. And someone mentioned a rumor that Wendy has moved to Coral Gables and is keeping a low profile. Okay, so that's just a rumor. I don't know for sure. Yeah. You're glad Chuck talked Lewis into confessing. Yeah, Lewis wasn't going to pay the price for the Adelson's decision. Yeah, that's a very smart move. And Chuck already said this at the previous interview, but all he got paid for that was $25K. Whereas just think about how expensive the Adelson's defense and then Katie's defense must have been, plus Sigfredo's defense. Yeah, the lawyers really made a ton of money off those cases since those people didn't make a plea deal. Oh, okay. Thank you, Helen. Charlie did it to be a hero. Yeah, that's right. It's all from Wendy's biased victimhood recitations to everybody. Okay, thank you guys for your support. Just kind of scrolling through here. Will she waive her? I don't know. Well, I think the state's ready to just go ahead and try her. I mean, they just finished trying Charlie. So all that stuff is just fresh in their minds. They have all the evidence already. So it's really up to Donna's attorney to get up to speed and be able to dig through this huge mountain of evidence and transcripts and depositions and recorded calls. So that's why I don't think she would have a trial until maybe early 2025. So that's my guess. Oh, okay. Thank you, Black Cat. Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely been a handful of negative comments every week. So, let's see. Yes, Wendy does have the boys, as far as I know. Yeah, I think pretty much everybody has concluded that Sigfredo was the shooter because even Sigfredo's attorneys had no expert, to balance out the state's expert, who is the ballistics expert, Sean Yao, who testified something about how, based on the bullet trajectories in through the window into Dan's head, that it was most likely a taller person like Sigfredo compared to Lewis, who shot the bullets. Plus, in the surveillance footage pictures, Lewis was the one seen as being the driver, as opposed to Sigfredo, who, being the shooter, he would have wanted to jump out of the car quickly and then jump back in while Lewis drove away. So I do believe that Sigfredo was the shooter. Was I getting nervous talking about Subaru? Nah, I'm not nervous talking about cars. I just don't know much about cars. But the funny thing is that my little sister did have a silver Nissan Altima. So that was the car she drove during college and law school. So I know exactly what it looks like. And I had a crappy Nissan Sentra a long time ago. I would never buy one again. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, where he was staring. Oh, okay. Debbie really wants to, contact Dr. Ben Graber, who is I guess he's a semi-retired OBGYN / former Florida politician who wrote this huge essay in the Tallahassee Democrat last week praising the Adelsons, talking about how Donna has always been a peacemaker. She's not violent, such a nice person. She should be released. She's no danger to the community. I've known her for 40 years. We've had Sabbath dinners, blah, blah. Yeah. So Fancy Fiction has a couple of really hilarious Onion-like satirical articles that she posted on her community tab. It's probably also on Fancy Fiction's Twitter and Instagram, but I'm not as active on those platforms. But you guys should definitely see it. It's hilarious, where she has a picture of, was it Cliff? Or Clint? What's that character from Cheers who was the mailman? Yeah, the guy with the mustache and stuff, and says, like, this guy found his long lost twin brother when he saw a stupid op-ed that his brother had written in support of this murderer. So anyway, I loved it. That was just wonderful. Yeah, feel free to mention my channel if that doctor wants to watch it, but he seems pretty delusional because it's almost 2024. We've been through 3 trials. There's tons of information, not just on YouTube, but news articles and blogs and stuff, actual trial footage. So it's just crazy that she still has some friend willing to put his reputation out on the line, writing such a stupid essay. Yeah, did Katie get a deal? Not as far as I know. Yeah, because even at Charlie's trial, Kappelman asked her about that, so she has no deal. Yeah, does he want to be a guest? Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, can you imagine like the kind of questions people would want to ask him? I doubt he would want to be a guest on one of our YouTube shows. Okay. I like Lewis, hope the best for him. Has he? Yeah, he did express remorse and regret. Yeah, definitely when he was on the stand at the last 3 trials, plus during his proffer interviews, probably during his deposition too, but I haven't seen the actual transcript. Mentor lawyer read some of the deposition transcript a long time ago. This is probably more than several years ago, but last time I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it on his channel. So, okay. Oh, okay. Did he? Okay, I don't remember noticing that Charlie stared down Jeff. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah. Yes, he definitely did express remorse, especially at Katie's trial. That was when he was sort of crying. Oh, okay. So you saw that also. Charlie stared down Jeff, try to intimidate him. Yeah, a jerk. Yeah, I'm so glad he's being put away. Very dangerous person. Yeah, that's right. Mentor Lawyer was the first channel highlighting the case. You watched the Wendy interview first. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, when is this ever going to be over, though? Because Donna's trial probably won't be until another year and a half from now. And who knows if they'll get Wendy and Harvey. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like people don't mind the repetition. I think that's also why some channels have been showing the same footage, or let's review this, let's look over Wendy's interrogation again, or interview, let's look over this, because there are just so many details, especially if you want to track the inconsistencies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I read that when the arrest warrant came out. Yeah. Well, I didn't read every single word, though. That would have taken forever. Yeah. Okay. Mentor Lawyer is the greatest of all time. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. I mean, personally, I feel like it would be better if it were just one channel, because sometimes I'm just like toggling between the 2 different channels trying to look for something. Yeah. So, yeah. So the other channel is Mentor Lawyer Justice Network. Yeah. There's nothing better than seeing the actual real interviews with these people as opposed to just hearing somebody summarizing it. Will Donna go to trial as quickly? Well, I don't think Charlie went to trial that quickly. So he was arrested April 21st, 2022. So it was like about a year and a half before he went to trial. Yeah, I don't think it will drag out even longer. I mean, I'm sure Donna's already going crazy in jail. True Lifestyles has been doing some great sleuthing, and she found the jail records that said Donna was naked in her cell and talking to herself and singing to herself. So it already sounds like Donna's having a really rough time getting used to life as an inmate. So I don't think Donna wants to stretch this out even longer if she still thinks there's a chance that she could get out. Yeah. So hopefully it won't take more than, say, like a year and a few months to get to Donna's trial. Yeah, her new apartment. Yeah. Yeah, he's not going to be free in 3 years because he gets out in May 2026 from federal prison, but then he's supposed to serve 7 more years in the in a Florida state prison. Yeah, so total he'll probably be out 2033 or maybe a tiny bit earlier. Yeah, okay, I think I answered that one. Yeah, because I don't think she wanted to stop the murder. Yeah, she was probably just manipulating him as usual, too. And she couldn't stop talking, just like Charlie. Yeah. Okay, this is hilarious. Yeah, you guys have to see Fancy Fiction's community post where she had the fake spoof article about the guy finding his long lost brother, Ben Graber. Yeah, it just made me laugh out loud. It was great. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I guess I should help market this. Maybe I'll put it as a separate community post, but on December 20th at 7 p.m. at, is it called like something like Illuminate event venue? It's in, no, where is that? It's somewhere in South Florida. But Joel Waltman from Surviving the Survivor and who else is there? There's someone sort of famous. Now I can't remember. Oh, okay. So it's in Sunrise, Florida. Sunrise, Florida. I'll put the address here. No, 5100 North Nob Hill Road, Sunrise, Florida. It's called the Illuminate venue. December 20th, 7 p.m. Joel Waldman from Surviving the Survivor, as well as Ruth Markel, will be having some sort of big book reading event where they will be talking about the Dan Markel case. So I know some of the people who are actively following the case plan on being there. So wish I could go, but it's definitely way too far away for me to get there. Okay. So Angela's telling Debbie, it's awesome you're attending that. Hope you enjoy yourself. If you talk to Joel, I'm sure he would unblock you, or better yet, talk to his wife, the chief of everything. Okay. So there is a charge for it. Let's see, what is it? I think admission is something like $37. And then if you want to go to a meet and greet with Ruth Markel, Dan's mother, I think it's $100. Not 100% sure, but I'll try to post the flyer soon. Yeah, December 20th. And I do hope that Ruth gets to see her grandchildren again. Who knows if that's still going to happen, because it's always up to Wendy. Yeah, Wendy went to her friends and said, please produce this invitation asking for bullet bourbon because the police are trying to frame me. Look at how loyal. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her, or just make something up herself. Someone said that the thing about wanting bullet bourbon was handwritten on the paper. I mean, I didn't see the paper put up on the screen, so I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, Dawn's channel is Dawn DeQuisto. That's her name. And she's also been covering the case extensively and reacting to interrogations and trial testimony and stuff. So, let's see. Okay, yeah, so it's at that Illuminate event venue, 5100 North Nob Hill Road, Sunrise. Okay. Okay, the same guy who's baby mama. Yeah. Okay, so if you're talking about Charlie, yes. Surprisingly enough, a lot of people have been watching that old live stream that I did from last year. And I think the child's mother deleted her comment to me a couple of months ago where she was supporting the Adelsons and said Charlie's been the best dad since the baby was born, and Donna and Harvey, aka Grandma and Grandpa, are the best grandparents ever. And so wonder how she's feeling now. Okay, yeah, so, well, she had to file a case for child support and paternity. But she later claimed it was just because she wanted some sort of court order or something formal for that. But it's kind of weird because in the filing, she was talking about how Charlie would just not help take care of the baby and would just run off and disappear for days or weeks. Okay. Okay, so talking about this. Oh, no, it's not Bog Hill. It's Nob Hill. Yeah. Let's see, 5100 North Nob Hill Road, Sunrise, Florida. Okay, NOB. Yeah, sort of like in San Francisco, they have that Nob Hill area. Okay. Okay, no, it didn't. Yeah, he's supposed to be put in Florida state prison later once he gets out of federal. Yeah, okay, no, STS did not block me. Okay, they blocked Debbie. Yeah, Try to get Rob. Yeah, but Rob might have to be a witness at Donna's trial, so I doubt he would want to just come on a YouTube channel at this point. Okay, so Debbie's talking more about the December 20th events. It's a fundraiser for the Jewish American Family. What does CO stand for? Family something organization. Yeah. So long time ago, back when Surviving the Survivor didn't have a ton of subscribers, they did do this nice interview with the director of JAFCO plus Ruth Markel. Okay, it's called Jewish Adoption and Family Care Options. Okay, that's the group that Ruth Markel had contacted a long time ago, and Wendy used that as an excuse to cut off the visitation with the grandkids. Oh, okay, so you did see a screenshot of the printed report? Okay, sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. Got to clear things up. Yeah, no, I have not been banned from somebody's YouTube channel. So would Wendy have to test? Yeah, I think they might. I mean, I don't know 400% sure, but they needed Wendy to testify at all three trials just to lay the foundation for the motive behind the murder. So I would expect that she probably would still have to testify for the state with that limited immunity against her own mother. But I'm sure she's going to just basically twist her words and not really say anything that would look too bad about her mom. Just answer questions about the terrible divorce and how Danny was so awful. And, her mom didn't know about the motion to make her visits supervised. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while, and I think he just wanted to move on and work on something else. I think he said he was working on a new book about science fiction. So, yeah, she'll start Grandparents' Day in prison. Yeah, that way she can get her grandchildren to come visit her. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Nob Hill Road. Was there a commercial? Oh, was that where Charlie was in the video? Yeah, I think I saw maybe part of it ages ago. Okay. Yeah, well, based on what I've read so far in his court file, Lewis is going to have to be transferred to a Florida state prison after 2026 unless there's some intervention or anything can be done. Yeah, that's a big question because Katie didn't even talk about this in those two proffer videos that I read. But I think there has to be another proffer video because she did give 3 proffers. So I need to ask James, mentor lawyer, if he has that 3rd video. But it did seem like Katie was really vague and was just really aggravating to hear in those 2 proffer videos. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. What would happen if Wendy refused to testify? Yeah. So just based on talking with other attorneys, if she's subpoenaed, she has to show up, or else she risks potentially being put in jail for not responding to the subpoena. Yeah, so she could be arrested. So, yeah, if she's subpoenaed to show up to the trial, she has to. Yeah, but from what I recall, before Katie's trial back in 2022, Wendy's lawyer did try to file a motion to keep her from having to testify, but that obviously was denied because she did get that limited immunity. Oh, what a coincidence. Okay, so you had a bottle of Bullet bourbon in the back of your fridge. Wow. Okay. After Donna's email, did you or well, they did go to court back in summer of 2013 for Wendy's motion to relocate, which was denied. And yeah, I can't remember if there were any actual court dates later in 2013 or early 2014, because after Dan filed the motions back in spring of 2014, there was supposed to be a hearing, but I think it got, or was it deposition? There was something that was supposed to happen that then got put off because Wendy's attorney withdrew. And then, of course, Dan was killed before there could be a hearing regarding Dan's motion where he was accusing Wendy of hiding assets or lying on her disclosures and wanted to have Donna's visit supervised. So there was never a hearing on that because they killed him. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think there's some back and forth here. All right. Yeah, I really doubt it. I don't think Wendy's trying to get a good relationship with Rob. Yeah, I doubt it. It sounded like he was pretty much fed up with the whole rest of his family when he spoke to the Wondery podcast back in 2016. So, given all the stuff that's transpired, I don't think their relationship would have gotten closer since then. Oh, okay, great, great. So you're out there listening to my ideas because I just come up with these ideas, but I know I don't have the talent or the software or the knowledge to know how to do these kinds of cool videos. So I'm sure you could whip something up a lot faster, like 100 times faster than I could using my crappy free websites and stuff. So yeah, that would be really funny to capture the different faces of Wendy Adelson with all these really bad looks on the stand. Yeah, it could be kind of entertaining too. Thank you. Okay, divorce documents. Oh, well, actually, I did show them last year. So if you dig through my old live stream shows, Dawn actually helped me read a lot of them. So there must have been at least 4 or 5 live stream shows from last year where Dawn and I read a bunch of family court filings, and I think Tony also helped read them. Yeah, so when she filed for divorce, it was, I think, September. Well, she left him in September of 2012. So that means the oldest child was 3. Yeah, the oldest child was just a little over 3 years old. The youngest child was maybe almost 2, maybe like a year and 10 months, something like that. Yeah, so they were very, very young when she left him and filed the case. So, okay. All right, so I think I better get going. This is just getting a bit too long and my throat is hurting from talking so much this weekend and stuff. But I do really, really appreciate everybody's support, people who have been so kind and supportive and understanding of my voice problems. And some people might be happy to note that I do have a doctor's appointment scheduled in a couple of weeks, and then maybe I'll see a neurologist or something. I have had some health problems, which I'm not going to just, be like airing them all on YouTube. But thanks for bearing with me, because this is a case that I think is so important to draw attention to. And it really just gets my goat that this whole rich, entitled family thought that they could get away with killing Dan Markel. So I do want to focus on some other stuff eventually, but while there's still Markel case content, then I'd be glad to keep covering it. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good week. I'll try to cook up something maybe later this week, or if I have time, maybe I'll finally finish performing the Adelson on Ice routine. I'm thinking about getting my coach to record me on Wednesday, so it depends on how crowded the rink is and if I can actually put something cohesive together. Maybe I'll just piece together some video footage and set it to music and call it a day, because it's all just for fun. So yeah. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Okay. Really appreciate you guys. Have a good evening then. Take care.